One of the earliest names in the vacuum cleaning world was Sturtevant, and these are two examples of early Sturtevant portable cleaners. Starting with this one over here. This one is called a Western Electric Sturtevant, and it's from about 1911 or so. And this was their portable vacuum cleaner design. You can see it's got a handle on it. You would roll it into the room you were going to clean, attach it to the light socket, because usually there were no electrical outlets at the time. You unscrewed a light bulb and screwed the cord in and attach the hose to it, and you'd clean the room, and then you'd transport this to the next room to be cleaned. So kind of portable, not exactly portable like we know it today. Probably weighs about 50 pounds. Most of that is this big heavy Western Electric motor. It is a universal type motor, so it's got brushes and a commutator. You can see the switch there. Inside the front cover where the hose attaches is a cloth bag, and actually a rather well thought out design, because when you take the cover off, the bag comes with it. This is not the original bag, by the way, but you can carry this thing away remotely to empty it instead of getting dust all over your living room. I've placed a pad filter behind the bag to keep it getting sucked in the impeller, but there's the impeller. Big old heavy cast impeller. This moves quite a bit of air. This is a bit tricky looking through the camera. This moves quite a bit of air, but not at a very high pressure. And so especially when a hose is connected to it, it produces this kind of very gentle breeze that, I guess with nothing to compare it to, this was just what a vacuum was in those days. But you can see for the weight and the size of this thing how the design would have been quickly outmoded. Oh, well, let's run it. Got some sparking with the brushes. Moving some air. So it's got some air movement, but owing to that single stage fan and the limited RPM of the motor, it doesn't move nearly as much air once you connect a hose and a cleaning tool, or a renovator as the cleaning tool was called at the time. And but that was it. That was what you got. And in fact, in their advertisements, great weight is attached to the fact that it doesn't have enough suction to actually damage fabrics, because the alternative types of systems, known as positive displacement systems, didn't move that much air, but they did have quite a bit of sealed pressure, and so they could rip the fabric if you weren't careful. Very well made machine, and they charged you for it. $130 in 1911 is equivalent to $3,612 today. And their specification of 100,000 cubic inches per minute sounds much more impressive than 58 CFM, but that was what it was rated at. Another vintage ad here. Perfection. So as I mentioned, they also made stationary vacuum cleaners. Here's one of their smaller size machines. This is a one-piece unit, Motor on top, impellers in the middle, cloth bag, and then the tray to empty it. And here's one of their larger central systems. Some attachments. Very nice complete set of tools that you could get. The wall inlets were quite Spencer-esque. And so was their attention to the engineering detail of the central vac systems and making sure that you had just enough airflow and suction to do the job that you needed to do. They would calculate it down very precisely. There's a nice little diagram of installation into a house. And Western Electric and Sturtevant were working in conjunction at the time, so I know Western Electric made that motor because it has a Western Electric tag on it. I don't know if they produced the whole thing, and Sturtevant was kind of the selling and engineering agency, but makes some of these ads make reference to the Sturtevant fan. And Sturtevant also made air-moving machinery. There's an ad that the Western Electric motor and the Sturtevant suction fan. And they also made blowers for all kinds of industrial applications. And so in the 1920s, when this design was getting rather hard to sell anymore, they came up with a very nice, compact, streamlined, upright vacuum cleaner, which you can see here. Now, because Hoover still had the patent on the revolving brush, everybody else was straight suction. Sturtevant did the best job they could with straight suction. Underneath, it's just a nozzle. There is no rotating brush. And so inside the fan housing, of course, is just the fan. There's no pulley or belt. But nice, slim little thing. And one very unique feature of this machine is the speed control there. General Electric. It's a big heating element. And those switches allow you to put your toaster mounted on the vacuum handle in series with the motor or not to give you a low, medium, and high speed. So we'll turn it on there. You can actually feel this start to get warm. Motor doesn't sound very good, but I imagine it sounded somewhat better when it was brand new, so I won't hold that against it. Very nice little piece of engineering for the time. And the Sturtevant company lived on to manufacture industrial vacuums in the Spencer fashion. This is a catalog from about 1940. And very similar to Spencer, they started kind of breaking into the market for applications where you kind of needed a central vacuum system, but you didn't have one. So you'd buy one of these big, heavy portables instead. You can see even then the water lift is not very impressive, but as long as the hose was nice and short and of sufficient diameter, it would get the dirt off the floor. So that was their smallest. This is next up. And you can see one interesting thing that you'll note in a lot of vacuum literature is in the early days, your small machines were rated by inches of water. But as soon as you got into a more substantial suction measurement, they switched to inches of mercury, which to convert inches of water to inches of mercury, you divide by 13.59 and vice versa. These tools are either almost perfect copies of Spencer tools, or they were just buying the tools from Spencer at that point. I mean, I've got a Spencer upholstery tool that looks exactly like that, and I've got a Spencer brush tool that looks exactly like that. Same castings. The wands look the same. So I don't know if Spencer was kind of selling this stuff to their competition or what, but so anyway, hope you enjoyed this little look at early vacuum cleaning from the Sturtevant Corporation of Massachusetts.